Hi, my name is Paulina Schenk, and today I'll be presenting Behavior Change Intervention Ontology Training Module 8 with Lisa Zhang. So this module will be about how to use the Behavior Change Intervention Ontology to annotate study reports and evidence synthesis. After this training, you should be able to, 1, describe the purpose of annotation, 2, describe why ontologies are useful for annotation, 3, list resources and software to assist in annotation, and 4, annotate study reports using component ontologies within the BCIO, so the Behavior Change Intervention Ontology. So first off, what is annotation and what do we use it for? So annotation involves classifying a component in a study report or other data resource. It can also be referred to as coding or tagging, which you might be more familiar with. An annotation requires a label from a controlled vocabulary, lexicon, taxonomy, ontology, or any other type of classification system, and it requires the source text from the paper or the data source, so evidence used to do the classification. On the side, you can see an example of a genome sequence being annotated. So for instance, in the red, you can see that a part of the sequence has been annotated as a ribosome binding site. So we use annotations often when undertaking some kind of evidence synthesis. So this could include systematic reviews, scoping reviews, or categorizing measurements, for instance. Why ontology is useful for annotation. So gold standard ontologies provide unambiguous definitions and unique IDs for entities. This means that ontology users can precisely annotate evidence. So they can use those unambiguous definitions and unique IDs to do more consistent and precise annotations. Ontologies also provide a shared framework to categorize and organize information across many different research groups and scientific disciplines. So thereby the same ontology can be used to annotate many different data sets, such as study reports and intervention manuals, and compare and integrate information from these. More specifically, the Behavior Change Intervention Ontology provides a structured framework to identify, categorize, and synthesize information about behavior change interventions from various data sources precisely. If you're going through these modules in order, you might already be familiar with the BCIO sub-ontologies. So now we'll be covering a bit how you can use the BCIO in evidence synthesis. So as you probably know, we have different types of sub-ontologies for behavior change techniques, for mechanisms of actions, for behavior, but also for context and mode of delivery of the intervention and so forth. So by using these sub-ontologies, you can synthesize information precisely about various aspects of an intervention, such as their BCGs, their mode of delivery, their mechanisms of actions, their target behaviors, their context, and so forth. And then how to annotate datasets using the BCIO. So to annotate datasets using the BCIO or parts of it, you can use various different softwares such as API Reviewer, Covidence, PDF Anno, RefMan, or Excel spreadsheet, whichever is really most useful to you. And the Human Behavior Change Project, we used API Reviewer to annotate intervention reports using parts of the BCIO. So here in the figure, you can see an example of what the annotation software looked like. So here you can see API Reviewer and the style of delivery ontology that was integrated into API. And on the side, you can also see an intervention report. So basically by tagging a part of the intervention report that was relevant to an entity within the style of delivery ontology, we would select the relevant entity and thereby do our annotations. So a key recommendation that we have for doing evidence synthesis with the BCIO, but also doing evidence synthesis more generally, is to have at least 2 researchers or more researchers annotate the same information to ensure that the entities in the ontology are used reliably and consistently. So I'll hand it over to Lisa from here.
So one of the software resources that Paulina mentioned that you can use to annotate study reports is an Excel spreadsheet. So our team has developed an Excel spreadsheet to annotate according to each of the lower level ontologies. So let's have a look at it now. You can see on the link there, if you click on that, you can download the spreadsheet so that you can use it for your own reviews or any other purpose. So we've got everything uploaded here. You can see a brief description of the spreadsheet. And if you click onto this link down here, you'll be able to access it, and you can download it. So it provides a brief description of each of the ontologies and the references, what the template, how the template was informed and developed, and then also how to use the data extraction template. So in this little box down here, you'll see that for each ontology, you can annotate your identified study reports according to each ontology. So what you would do is indicate the presence of an entity in a given article that you're looking at by marking it with a 1 in the corresponding cell. So this is to allow for it to be computer readable, which essentially means that machines can extract and aggregate the data for further statistical analyses, so things like meta-analyses. So after you've indicated that an entity is present, then you would add evidence to support this annotation. So you would add a quote from the article. And then you would just repeat this as required, indicating all the different entities that are present in the specific article that you're looking at. So each column is its own separate article, and you just repeat as you continue with each article. So you can do as many articles as that your review is including. So one thing that also might be applicable is that you could add additional intervention arms for a given article, and this is just by adding more columns. As you can see, each of the tabs is its own separate ontology. So we've got mode of delivery, intervention setting, intervention source, mechanisms of action, behavior change techniques, and also style of delivery. So let's take a look at the behavior change technique ontology. Say, for example, in a given article that you've included in your review, there's a set behavior goal entity that you've identified. Say that you want to mark this as present. You'll see its ID, the label, and also just to help with identifying the entity, we just put in the definition. Say that you found that in the intervention arm, you would just mark that as a 1 just to indicate its presence, and then you would just copy the quote. So, and then you would keep on going for the comparator if there is one, and then you would just continue along for each article that you've included in your review. This can be used by 2 annotators using separate spreadsheets. So when it comes to reconciling differences and similarities, you can easily compare across different annotators as well. If you have any queries on how to use it, or if you've got suggestions or improvements about how it can be better developed or improved in the future, or if you've actually developed one yourself and you would like to share it with us, and maybe some of your parts of your template could be incorporated into a future version that we've of the one that we've published. We've got a Google form for that. So in the future, we'll update this template. So this is currently V1, and we'll update this based on feedback from users, also newly completed ontologies within the BCIO. So things like the fidelity ontology, schedule, dose, they're all currently almost completed. So all of that will be included in this template, and also revisions to existing ontologies. So just a reminder that ontologies are not static, they're dynamic. So they shift when new evidence becomes available. So they'll always be constantly an ongoing process. We also have specific annotation guidance manuals for each of the lower level ontologies within the BCIO. So this is just guidance on how to identify and annotate pieces of text from study reports relating to each of the ontologies. This can be downloaded in a folder here. Once you've gone onto that link on the screen, you'll see annotation guidance manuals for each of the ontologies that have been published so far. So you can download each one of them to help you with your annotations. For example, let's go into the style of delivery annotation on annotation guidance. It just gives information and rules for making decisions if there's a bit of ambiguity or uncertainty for annotating specific classes. Okay, so now we're going to do a brief demonstrations of what annotating a study report using a particular component ontology within the BCIO. So what this looks like. And for this example, we're going to use the behavior change technique ontology, which is the successor of the behavior change technique taxonomy V1. What you can do is you can read the excerpt from this paper reporting a smoking cessation intervention. So what you can do is pause the video for a couple of minutes and read through the passage and try to annotate the BCTs or the behavior change techniques within the excerpt using the BCTO. So to find the BCTO, you can there are different ways of viewing it. So one of the ways is going to that OSF link here, and this shows you a spreadsheet or a table of each of the different BCTs as of current, and it's just displayed in its hierarchical format. So you'll see all the different labels and their IDs, the definition, and an elaboration if they have one. Alternatively, you can go to the ontology lookup service and go to the BCIO, and then through that you can find behavior change technique. So this is just a different way of showing this table. So just take a couple of minutes just to pause the video, try and identify what you think the BCTs are in this excerpt, and then we'll come back and go through. What we've done is identified a couple of BCTs. So the first one is a tell to change behavior. Evidence is that smokers are routinely advised to quit smoking by their attending surgeon. Next one is arranged support BCT. So smokers are offered telephonic and bedside cessation counselling. And then we've got an increased awareness of consequences BCT, the benefits of cessation for cancer patients. And then goal strategizing BCT, so potential barriers to quitting and behavioral strategies for managing smoking urges. That's the evidence. And then finally provide pharmacological support, so recommendations for use of cessation pharmacotherapy, and participants were offered nicotine replacement therapy at no cost. So the next module is on how to use the behavior change intervention ontology to describe behaviors. And that will be delivered by Professor Robert West. So that's it. Thanks very much for joining, and we hope that you found this helpful.